Good afternoon or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 4 of The Blacker and the Berry. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about uh, ancient kings and queens, and this is divided into two segments. In the second segment, we're going to be discussing um, where the narrative came from that Columbus discovered America, when there's strong evidence that suggests that the Africans could have reached America first. But again, before Rome rose and before Greece reached its peak, before slavery, before colonization, before the world tried to redefine Black identity, there were kings. There were Black kings ruling empires that stretched across nations, Black kings whose names shook nations. Today, we're talking about one of them, Taharqua, a Cushite king who became Pharaoh of Egypt. And not just Egypt, but during a time when empires were rising, colliding, and fighting for dominance. Now, at this time, you got to understand something. Egypt is already considered to be an ancient. Okay, at the time, power is shifting, and then of course, Kush we know is modern day Sudan. So here's what they don't always emphasize: Taharqa was an Egyptian by origin. He was Kushite, meaning he was African from the south, from a civilization that had its own kings and its own pyramids, its own power. It was the kingdom of Kush. There was Napata. Kush and Egypt were neighboring now civilizations with a complex 2,000-year relationship involving trade, cultural exchange, and military conflict. Now, while Egypt is known for its massive early unified state, Kush in modern Sudan was a powerful southern neighbor that adopted Egyptian religion and hieroglyphics, eventually conquering Egypt as its 25th dynasty. All right, now, Africa is often inaccurately presented as a single place due to a combination of colonial history, stereotypical media representation, and a lack of education regarding its diversity. And it's important for us to understand Africa is not just a place, it's many different civilizations. Again, despite being a massive continent with over 2,000 languages, 54 nations, and diverse civilizations, historical narratives often homogenize the reason. Now, some of the reasons for this are shown in the National Geographic education articles that I love. National Geographic, the TV shows, articles, or what have you. Anyways, Europeans have done this also. Like, the narrative is historical biases such as those from Hegel often wrongly present Africa as a continent outside of history and devoid of complex civilizations just to justify colonization. There are media and cultural stereotypes, which global media often focuses solely on crises such as the Ebola virus, famine, or war, rather than the very cultures, the bustling cities, and distinct nations that perpetuate the idea of a singular impoverished place. So again, even to this day, there are modern day queens and kings in Africa, but the media only wants us to see what they want us to see. Another one of the Eurocentric narratives is colonial carving, where the Berlin Conference of 1884 allowed European powers to carve up the continent, and in so doing, it treated it as an empty space to be partitioned rather than acknowledging the pre-existing civilizations that were already there. And with the othering and the homogenization, unlike Europe or Asia, which are often recognized for the distinct countries, African countries are frequently lumped together by outsiders who do not distinguish between cultures and histories. And then let's look at the misinterpretation of the social structures. There are parts of pre-colonial Africa that are featured that, while parts of pre-colonial Africa featured empires that includes Mali, Songhai, and Egypt, other areas operated on kinship-based or non-centralized systems that were misinterpreted by outsiders as a lack of civilization. Understanding Africa as a continent with a diverse and complex human geography is essential to moving past the harmful stereotypes. Now, Taharqa didn't just appear out of nowhere. He rose during a dynasty that changed Egypt forever. Again, remember, this was the 25th dynasty, also known as the Nubian dynasty. And this is where Kushites reclaim and rule Egypt. And it's interesting, it says that the Kushites reclaimed Egypt. You can't reclaim something unless you had a claim to it prior. So they were already ruling prior to this time frame. Now, by the time that Taharqa does take the throne, this is not a takeover anymore. It's a statement. All right. So here's where it gets real. Taharqa didn't just rule, he fought. He had a clash with Esarhaddon. I'm not even going to say this right. Ashurbanipal ended. Okay, so at the time there was Assyria. Assyria at the time, it was the mightiest army that there was, or the mightiest military force on earth, right? It wasn't a small enemy. This was like standing up to the most powerful military force in the world, okay? But let's not reduce Taharqa just to war, because again, keep in mind, he went to war with Assyria. Not only did he go to war with Assyria, but he won. But again, we're not going to reduce him to war. He built temples. There was the Temple of Kawa, which is the ancient Jematon. It's a significant archaeological site in modern-day Sudan, featuring temples dedicated to the god Amun, primarily built by the Kushite pharaoh between 7th century BC over earlier New Kingdom foundations. It's located between the 3rd and the 4th cataracts, and it was a vital religious center where Taharqa established major stone structures as a priority of his reign. Now, the Kawa Temple, it was founded earlier. The site was heavily developed by Taharqa. That was between 690 and 664 BC to honor Amun of Kawa and Amun of Napata, serving as a key stop in the Kushite coronation journey. All right. The temples were constructed in a purely Egyptian style by skilled craftsmen, showcasing intricate reliefs despite being located in Nubia. And there's a shrine dedicated to Taharqa. It's a notable shrine commissioned by himself, which was found there and is now housed in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England. A lot of artifacts ended up in European civilizations or modern-day European cities because the culture was stolen for the artifacts. They plundered the region, in other words, no different than the diamond mines or what have you. Africa is a rich continent in minerals, rich in diamonds, rich in just so the wealth. Just Africa is a plethora of civilizations, languages. Africa is vast in all that it has to offer the world. Now, again, the site is heavily affected by windblown sand, obscure the structures over time. Now, we're talking about the Shrine of Taharqa now. Let's see. As a pharaoh, the pharaoh was both church and state. Political leadership was the management of the physical realm, and spiritual leadership was the management of the metaphysical, which both were intended to maintain the ultimate stability of Egypt. Now, for King Taharqa of the 25th dynasty, building was more critical than conquering because it solidified his authority as a legitimate Egyptian pharaoh. It secured loyalties and it restored religious tradition as a Nubian ruler in Egypt. Taharqa used massive, rapid construction of temples and pyramids to legitimize his rule, to enhance his popularity, and to foster economic stability through temple towns. And Taharqa's story didn't end with defeat. It ended with legacy. Because history did try to shrink Black identity to one chapter. But Taharqa reminded us that we were writing entire volumes. We were not just part of history. We were power within it. Now, so again, keep in mind, there's been this narrative that tells us that before we were ever on the throne, that we were in chains. And again, that's not true. We were there. And on this particular Taharqa that we're talking about, he's mentioned in the Bible in 2 Kings, I think 2 Kings 9 and 19. Let me try to pull it up. Just really, let me see where we are. Get my internet connection. 2 Kings 9 and 19. 2 Kings 9, 19. Let's see. Give me just 1 second here. In 2 Kings, that's not it. That's not it. But I will find it for you. Give me just 1 second. I want to show you this. It's 2 Kings 19:9. I had it backwards. I had 9:19. It's 19:9. Okay. So again, the scriptural reference is 2 Kings 19 and 9, and you can also look at Isaiah 37 and 9. So again, we're in the Bible, and one thing that I've done is I've ordered the Ethiopian Bible because there's so many passages that we're missing, so much that we need to see. Let me pull my Bible up because I want to pull this scripture on the screen for you guys. One second. Let's see here. Let me just one more here. I guess I could have just read it off my phone where I put my phone right here in my hand, but it's up now. Okay, so let's go with 2 Kings 19:9. Let's go with the New King James Version, and then let me do split screen here. Hang on a second here. Let's share screen. All right, here we go. Thank you, sharing for you guys. Yes, it is. Okay. So second Kings 19:9. Now the Bible says Taharqua is Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia. Again, and the king heard concerning Taharqua, king of Ethiopia. Look, he has come out to make war with you. So he again sent messengers to Hezekiah saying, and we can't see what he said because I stopped at the 19th verse. I'm sorry, the 9th verse of the 19th chapter. Bear with me just a second here while I try to pull the whole thing up for you. Okay, it's 19:9. Okay. Thus you shall speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, do not let your God, in whom you trust, deceive you, saying, Jerusalem shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Now, mind you, Taharqua defeated Assyria. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then also he's mentioned in Isaiah, I think it's 37 and let's see, it's Isaiah 37 and I forgot where it was. 37:9, which is what I was thinking. Let's see what it says. Isaiah 37. Now we're going to stay with the New King James Version. Isaiah 37:9. And again, I probably should have added another king just to give more volume to the episode, but I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. Okay, 37:9. Okay, Isaiah 37:9 basically says the same thing. And the king heard concerning Taharqua, king of Ethiopia. He has come out to make war with you. So when he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, thus you shall speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, do not let your God in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem shall not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. So again, here we see that we're there. We're there. We were in scripture. Even though, contrary to popular belief, hold on, let me stop sharing screens. Contrary to popular belief, yes, we are in the Bible from the perspective of being Black, and that's important to know. If I don't look to where I come from, I'll never know where I'm trying to go, right? And I never will understand why there was a narrative created to strip. As an individual, I have to be stripped of my identity and given another one in order to assimilate to a different culture. Why? Because there's a different narrative that is set to make me submit to what I ordinarily was not born to. And the reason that is, again, is because think about it, which is why I personally have an issue with modern day Christianity, because how it has been, history has been whitewashed in such a way that we, minus the Spirit of God, we don't know the truth at all. And it's impossible to understand the truth if we don't have the excellence of the Spirit of God to teach us that truth, right? So again, it's important to understand that before there ever were, before we were in chains, we were on thrones. And that's exciting to know. Um, it's empowering to know. The more you know, the better you are. The more information you're given, knowledge is power. And there's a push, there has been a push, and there still remains a push to ban certain books that contain our history, right? Again, and this is not to be divisive or anything else, because I've said many times before, and I'll continue to say it, that there could be no world history, there can be no American history without Black history. It was true then, it is true now. And again, I said the second segment, we're going to talk about, there's growing discussion and evidence suggesting that Africans may have reached the Americas before Columbus, and that history may be deeper than we were taught, right? Now, and it's from massive stone heads in Mexico to ocean currents that carry ships from Africa straight to the Americas, to the stories of African kings who sailed west. There are questions that history hasn't fully answered, and we owe it to ourselves that if we don't get the answers that we're looking for in history, we need to set out to find those answers. And again, the information is there, and again, that lends credence to why there are many volumes of books that are being banned and just outright deleted or hidden because of the information that it contains. It's important for us to learn this information, to learn our history, to learn our culture. Now, again, there's strong evidence suggesting that the Africans reached the Americas long before Columbus did. Now, we know that Columbus didn't reach the Americas. It was not unsettled when he got here, in other words. And again, when we make reference to the massive stone heads in Mexico, the Olmec heads is what they call them. OLMEC, the Olmec heads. Could share the screen again. That's just too much. Let's see. Olmec heads. Can you tell me what you see? Let's go with images. Olmec heads. Can you tell me what you see? And these Olmec heads. Second. So these are the Olmec heads. These structures are 4 to 11 feet tall, weighing 6 to 50 tons. Like the amount of ingenuity that it took to create these things. And this is long before Columbus even reached the Americas, like long before he got here. Hang on a second. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, but what do you see? So again, in the Olmec civilization, again, these massive stone heads were carved centuries before Columbus. And some see African resemblance. Scholars say they're indigenous, but the conversation itself does matter. So again, what do you see? And who decides what history looks like? Who decides what history looks like? Now, everything that we were taught, again, about who discovered America, it might not be the full story. And this does not necessarily prove that Africans discovered America, not definitively, but it does prove something else. History is not as simple as we were taught that it was, and we deserve to ask deeper questions. And that's something that I want to be a part of. I want to help facilitate, foster, and nurture that conversation. Because again, the story isn't just about who got here first. It's about who gets remembered. It's not just about who got here first, but it's about who gets remembered. Again, the narrative that Columbus was found in empty Americas is absolutely not true. He arrived somewhere that people already were. All right, and let's remove belief for just a second and talk physics. Atlantic currents come from West Africa to the Americas. So the question becomes not could they, but why wouldn't they, right? And there are accounts of a king who gave up his throne to sail west into the unknown. Do we have proof in the Americas? Not definitively, but we do have the story and the possibility. And again, so no, we can't say with certainty that Africans did discover America. But we can definitely say that history is deeper than we were taught. So who gets remembered? And again, that's why I want to lend my voice to this conversation so that we can talk about the kings and the queens. Yes, this episode is entitled "We Were Kings," but we were also queens. So that's coming too. We have a rich culture. We have a rich history. The land from which we were stolen, the identities that were stripped away from us. Many of us will never know. We'll never know how culturally rich we truly are in terms of the dynasties that we were attached to. Who did we descend from? These are the things that I really am intrigued by. And again, that is the purpose of this podcast. I want to be able to be one of the voices that can allow you to bring your contribution. I do have an idea and a vision for where I want to go with the podcast. I want to have experts in the field to teach us, because again, growing up, I was never taught Black history. I didn't have the opportunity to learn the things that I'm learning now. So as I'm sharing this information with you guys, I myself am learning. So again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Again, comment down below. Give me your takes. I want to know what you think. I want to know what history you know. Again, I don't know everything, but one thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add my voice to the conversation. And I definitely want you to add your voice to the conversation also. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this has been an episode of The Blacker the Berry. Where the blacker the berry, the deeper the truth. Have a phenomenal day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. See you guys next week.